to the second heat in this year's Gallery of Guitar competition. Kate, what was last night like?
It was absolutely stellar. This is such a joy. I just want to remind you again, if you are not a professional guitarist or an expert in guitar, it matters not. It matters not at all, because you will learn something and hear this vast repertoire of incredibly talented folks. You're in for a treat, so buckle up.
Yeah, it was amazing. Last night was a mixture of people who've never competed in the competition before, mixed with players returning for a second go. It's just incredible. We've got 2 previous finalists competing in this year's heats as well. It is just a lot of fun, and it's just fantastic to celebrate all of this great talent. Last night we had a fantastic jury spanner from Iceland. Stephen was with us from the US, and Emma was with us from Canada. And today we've got 3 completely new faces to listen to our performances today, but they're not necessarily new to the competition or Gallery of Guitar, because we've had them all on here before, celebrating their music and their artistry, and of course their advice and wisdom. So we'd just like to say hello to Uros Baric in Slovenia.
Hello, greetings from Slovenia, and I'm so excited for today to start and hear all these beautiful talents.
Amazing. It's great to have you back with us, Uros, and I know the players listening will be really excited to hear your feedback and your advice. And hello to the wonderful Matthew Cochran. How are you doing, brother? How's Michigan?
Hey, excellent. Michigan is in the good season now, so yes, it's fantastic, and it's great to be here and great to see all of you.
We're delighted to have you back with us. And Tracy and Smith, it is great to have you returning to our jury here on Gallery of Guitar. It's fantastic to spend an afternoon with you listening to all these guitarists. How is life in Canada?
Well, I don't think we're in the good season here quite yet, but we have faith that it's coming. So we're in Newfoundland right now, which is basically an island in the middle of the Atlantic. So let's hope the internet stays and I don't get snowed in while I'm here. But I'm very, very excited to hear everybody playing guitar. It's going to really lift my spirits today.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. And Kate, we're looking to hear from everyone in the chat, right?
Yes, and this is actually one of the best things about this too, is chat. You can engage with these players as they're on. You can send them their love. This really means a lot. And we've had some really fascinating commentary that's very thoughtful, very knowledgeable, and very kind. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that today.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was just some great things in the chat yesterday. And, you know, if you're listening along and you want to know a little bit more about the repertoire that people have played or anything specifically that they've done, feel free to ask a question. Also about competitions and things like that, because we're here to, you know, not have things shrouded in mystery. We'll just tell you what's going on, you know, so there's no question that we can't answer, I hope. All right, but there we are. So what's happening is we've got 8 fantastic players, just like last night. They've all submitted a video each, which we're about to share with you, and it has a contrasting program, usually 2 pieces that really show off different things about their technique, their musicianship, and their artistry in choosing those pieces, because there's no set pieces. There's no rules in that regard. That the musicians, the young players, can choose whatever they really want to share with us. And then, of course, at the end of all the heats, there's another one after this today as well. We will then deliberate with the jury, and every single jury member will listen to all the performances from the 3 heats, and then a maximum of 6 players are chosen to proceed to St Andrews this summer to the grand final at Classical Guitar Review, which is just like a fantastic concert, a really good celebration. So it's a really fantastic opportunity, and I'll talk more about prizes and sponsors and things later on. But I think we should just get cracking, right? Kate, do you want to introduce our first player of the day?
You bet. And a returning contestant, very cool, will be reintroduced to Yuliia Makarenko. She says she's from originally the best city in the world, Kharkiv, Ukraine, now based in Glasgow. She's going to play a Sonata Classica Allegro by Manuel Ponce and a song Capricorn by Roland Dienz. She chose these because of the strong contrast, the different ways they reveal the guitar. Ponce's Sonata Classica is energetic and bright, and it has clarity and bass sonority, she says, but that the Dienz is meditative and free, and she loves its unusual harmonies. Together, she's going to bring together structure and freedom. She says that her guitar was made by Michael Ritchie, who's made one of our prize guitars. She's dreaming of a road trip across the U.S. in a black 1967 Chevrolet Impala. That's her fun fact. And an important question that we've asked everyone, we asked them all really deep, we asked them to search their souls and answer something for us. This year, that question was cake or pie? And her answer was Belgian chocolate seahorses. But if absolutely necessary, cherry and apple pie win. Oh, thank you, Yuliia. What a beautiful start to the competition, a study in contrast between structure and freedom. It's put a smile on everybody's face. A lot of love from the chat. Uros, what do you have to say about that performance from Yuliia?
I thoroughly enjoyed the performance. I thought the music choice was beautiful. I love both pieces very much. And I thought she is a very sensitive, beautiful player. She makes nice phrasing, and I also could tell the structure of the pieces is very clear to her. And I thought the tone that she produces was very beautiful. So
excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Matthew, what's your input here on Yulia's performance?
Yeah, I really like the structure. I could definitely sort of see each or hear each part very clearly delineated. I also really like the sound of those bass notes quite a bit. I'd love to hear both pieces. To me, have a really defined sense of humor. And I know Yuliia has a wonderful sense of humor, and I'd like to hear some of that humor, I think, come out as she works through these, or continues to work through these pieces. Very, very well done.
All right. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tracy, now we know you've had a huge connection with Roland Dien, so that the second composer that Yuliia featured there, and we've actually had you on Gallery of Guitar, you know, in episodes dedicated to Roland and his music. If I can come to you, what about the atmosphere and the mood that Yuliia managed to capture there in the song Capricorn?
Well, I found that her her incredible delicacy at times really befit the work of Dien's. She had a real sense of musical gravity. She could tell like what notes were kind of, you know, more heavy and what were more buoyant. So she was able to really shape a lot of these melodies in a lovely way that I think he probably would have really approved of. And I think she did the same in the Ponce. She had such a good sense of character in both pieces. Mm-hmm. And subtle changes that she was making were really effective. I feel like Yuliia's really on the right track. I would really love to hear even more, you know, what she's doing. I want to hear her go further with it and, you know, really explore her ideas because I think they're excellent.
Yeah, yeah. Quite a natural performer, actually, musically as well. She's got a good instinct for doing the right thing, you know, which is fantastic. So, and it's great, you know, there are now heats for 2025 and 2024, and you can actually track that progress. You can see Yuliia competing in previous years and sounding great and really coming on. So it's fantastic that all three judges have sort of picked up on that today as well. The chat is bustling already, Kate. There's lots of people coming in and mentioning all sorts of things. I'm just trying to see if I can highlight.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, keep it coming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we want to hear from you. There's a great comment here. A beautiful performance, Yuliia. Sensitive, elegant. I enjoyed your musical choices. You drew me towards your music and made Michael Ritchie's guitar sing. Well done. So that is a fantastic comment there for Yuliia to take a lot from. So we're going to move on to our next competitor of the afternoon, and it's my turn to do the introduction here. And you're going to have to bear with me because it's got a lot of information. It's fantastic. This is a great sort of biographical bit of information about the music that Jay is about to play. So our next competitor, Jay Shepard, he hails from the United States, from Paragould in Arkansas. And he's chosen to play 5 pieces, some of them very, very short and just sort of really showing that contrasting way that we wanted people to build a program. Now, my pronunciation of his first piece will undoubtedly be wrong. So any Italians listening, feel free to jump in on the comments and tell me how bad a job I've done here. Vague Bellez et bionde trecce, I think is close. And it's a song from the 16th century. It's an Italian lute piece that loosely translates to noble, beautiful beauty and golden blonde braids. Can't see you, I am dying for you. So it's hugely romantic and just sort of, you know, it's just kind of a beautiful song singing to us from the Renaissance. Jay is dedicating this piece to his beautiful wife, Kristen, who has given him the encouragement to pursue a doctorate in classical guitar after years primarily playing electric guitar. So Jay's come over from the dark side, from the electric guitar to the classical. The second piece that he is going to play, The Millennial Fair, is a piece from a popular video game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES, that he played when he was a child. Some of his first arrangements he did for classical guitar were songs from these computer games. He'd hang out with his cousins during summer breaks from school, and they'd play sports, video games, and music all day. So naturally, those two worlds had to come together. He says the piece has a nice balance with the first, as it's similar to a saltarello dance that concludes the original 6-piece set that Italian loop piece, the first piece Jay plays, comes from. So he continues with Bonnie Portmore, an old Irish folk tune, with laments the demise of Ireland's old oak forests. That's a really beautiful old tune from the sort of Irish traditional canon. It's beautiful. He moves on to a piece by a former judge and also a regular guest on Gallery Guitar, Thomas Villottot, and his A Night in Bastille that was originally written for Thomas' friend, the great French guitarist Gabriel Bianco. And it describes a late night journey home from the Bastille district after plenty of partying. So you can just imagine the fun they were having. And then he finishes with his favorite tune of all time, Letter from Home by Pat Metheny, which is an absolutely beautiful piece of music that Pat Metheny wrote, which is now very popular on guitar, especially classical guitar. He plays a 2022 Kim Lissarage guitar, and he used to play a Ramirez, which belonged to his old teacher, and he also plays a guitar by Andrew Smith. So I think we're going to hear and see Jay switching out guitars during this performance. A fun fact about Jay, in addition to playing rock and roll and jazz, he's an avid fan of the British brass idiom and enjoys playing B-flat and E-flat tuba as well as euphonium. And he enjoys training and working with brass bands and wind bands alike. Which is better? Kate's question, cake or pie, and what's his favorite type? Well, Jay goes for pecan pie, and he says that is the only correct answer. So a huge amount of information about what Jay's playing there. In the chat, we'll put the names of those pieces as he comes to them, but enjoy Jay's performance. Wow. Wow. You know, it's funny, when I was sort of thinking about all the pieces that Jade put through there, I thought, oh, I'm getting a bit worried. That's a lot of repertoire, and I wonder how that'll sort of, you know, knit together and work. Tracy, if I can come to you first, what are you thinking after just such a performance from Jay? Oh, Tracy, we can't quite hear you, and we want to. We definitely want to.
Here we go. Here we go.
Hey, perfect.
Jay has just got a beautiful kind of natural musicianship. His technique is great. And hearing all those different pieces, you know, my thought at first was, is he going to be able to kind of manage the changes in style that all of those different periods and composers kind of require? And I think he's really handling all of that well. I mean, once we got to the Viloto, the groove was really, really strong. Yeah. And then Matheny had this sort of beautiful, nostalgic sense to it. Perhaps maybe he could mine the opening piece a little bit more for stylistic interest.
Yeah.
To just keep, you know, expanding his musical ideas. The one thing that I actually have a little bit of a concern about for Jay, and it doesn't really have to do with his amazing execution of the pieces, is just his posture. He's really staring at that left hand the whole time. And, you know, once you get a little snow on the mountaintop, you know, your neck is
talking about.
Your neck is going to be a little bit bothered, I think, if you get a little bit tense. And at times I noticed the shoulder coming up. So I think he just, you know, really hopefully can trust his great musical style and his consistency in playing, and be able to kind of let go of some of that tension and monitoring of the left hand at times, you know, just a little bit here and there, because it's really hard to find something to criticize with the music itself. He sounds great.
No, that's a great point, though, because it's all about longevity, you know, and being able to make your music with as much freedom in your expression as possible. And he is so expressive. So we just want that to continue. So I think that's an absolutely great point there to highlight. Now, Uros, I'm going to come to you next, because you're a man who likes a tune, and you like all types of repertoire, and you yourself have such an eclectic touch on the guitar. So you must have really appreciated the breadth of Jay's offering there.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of my style. I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was interesting, different, and I liked the repertoire selection. I wasn't sure how it's gonna all work together, but it did finally. And I like the tone, and I appreciated also the clarity of sound using proper mics and everything. So it was all very, very clear. I have some comments about the first piece, about the voice leading and things like this, but it's all very small things, you know. And I thought the tone was very nice overall. I liked all the guitars featured here.
It's cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the groovy piece from Thomas Viloto a lot, and I think he's doing great. I would recommend him to mind a little bit more the control of squeaking in changing the position on the fretboard a little bit more, perhaps using a little bit more vibrato. But overall, I thought it was a very strong performance, and I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. These are great tips as well. And, you know, just to highlight the fact that, you know, all of our discussions that we have after each player, you know, we're mentioning the things that have really spoken to us, but the jury are all doing some written comments in which they can be very specific about one or two things that they'd like to see more of or less of, let's say, whatever it can be. But that's an opportunity then for the jury just to sort of, you know, make a direct point that can be really, really impactful for a player going forward. So just so that everybody watching is aware, obviously we're discussing and we're picking up on all these things, but there is that opportunity to give that clarity and feedback as well in a written way as well. But Kate, I'll let you talk to Matthew about this amazing performance from Jay.
Great, good. Because Matthew, actually, I have a question too. I think everybody's talking about that Viloto, and I had a question about the extended technique What is it when he's running his finger down the fretboard and then tap, 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 tap? What? Please tell us. Tell us more about that. What is that?
Sure. It's really clever and very Thomas Villoteux, I have to say. If you're muting the strings with your left hand and you're creating a little bit of, let's say, left hand noise, not the bad squeaking that Uros was actually referring to, but rather this is something written into the piece. And then with your right hand, you're keeping things moving. You get this really cool percussion effect that also has a little bit of pitch to it, which I think is really cool. And actually, I think one of the things that Jay does very well on that piece is something that sometimes I don't hear players do with this particular piece, which is bring out a very simple and beautiful melody that Thomas has written. Sometimes that kind of gets buried under all the extended techniques and the sort of grooviness of the piece, and it's easy to forget that there's a lot of structural elements that are actually written into the composition, and they're cool to bring out. And I think Jay did a very nice job of that.
Excellent. And overall, aside from the Villoteux,
actually, I'll say I also really appreciated the sound quality. I thought that was excellent. Very tasteful use of reverb. And in terms of the overall programming, I felt like there was a real interest in what the listener was going to experience, and I thought that was very cool that Jay was thinking about like moving from one guitar to the next to kind of accommodate the tunings, and so overall very well thought through, very professional. Well done.
All right, thank you, Maestro Cochran. All right, let's meet our next contestant, Dean Glynn. From Wexford, Ireland, playing for us Elogio de la Danza by Leo Brouwer. He's a strong interest in contemporary music, and Brouwer's compositional style has always been a favorite of his. His second piece is called Aqueous No.1, composed by himself. He composed the piece in summer 2025, the title meaning of water. He'd been swimming a lot, and he thought about water and light coming through the water and the fast and slow of that. His guitar is an O'Leary spruce top, currently on loan from the Royal Irish Academy of Music. Thank you, folks. He's been exploring more and more the idea of his own compositions. It's a creative outlet he's very passionate about. And as to that heated cake or pie debate, his answer is absolutely chocolate cake. Right. My goodness. And bringing his own work, a lot of contrast again happening there. Matthew, what was your take on Dean's performance just now?
Oh, terrific. Really well done, Dean. Very cool to hear original music showing up in competitions. Especially wise to, I think, combine an original work with something a little bit more established like Brouwer, so that the listener can kind of get a sense of what all you can bring, I think, to a guitar competition. I'll say one quick thing about sound quality, which I think is important in an online competition, because we have time to create reasonably good sound. So regardless of the type of equipment we use, always check and make sure that you're not peaking, you're not too loud for the microphone that you're using. But these are things that we get better at over time, and hopefully the next time Dean records himself, he'll think through the recording and get better and better and better always at that sort of thing.
All right. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. Tracy Ann, Brouwer, and his own composition, and then the Brouwer. What's your take on that?
I think it's really interesting to hear someone come and play their own composition, especially when that person clearly has such a strong urge to express himself, like this, the way that he plays, he's got this intensity to it. And a really kind of clear sense of musical ideas, and then he's taking that and he's using it to further the repertoire, write his own piece. So I think it's a lot of it's something that I don't think can be taught, that real urge to express oneself. So it's a really valuable thing. And as such, I feel like when we have that, the thing that we can refine and work on over time is compositional technique, is physical technique to create the sounds that we want. And I think it's great that he's expressing himself in such a way. And I would love to see him continue to refine his right hand, because some of that intensity of expression is overwhelming the right hand a little bit here and there. And some just small adjustments could make the expression that much clearer and bring what that, he's trying to get across out even more. I think he's got a great sense of drama in his performance. Some people, when they're playing rests, it's just kind of waiting around, okay, but he's got this sense of anticipation and suspense that he's building with any rest that really makes the next thing that much more exciting. So, a lot of things to praise in that performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So these are fantastically insightful comments. And if Dean's listening, he can take so much of this and then run with all these ideas. It's really fantastic. Uros, what were you thinking when Dean was presenting that program? It was funny seeing him sandwiched between an organ and a harpsichord in his practice room, and then the guitar was out front. I thought it was really cool. I was like, put all those dusty keyboard instruments in the back and bring the guitar to the front.
Exactly, I noticed that too. I thought it was great. For me, the highlight was actually his composition. I really liked it. I thought it was well structured, well balanced, and I could really hear what he was describing in what the piece is about, basically.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I think Dean has a good sense of rhythm and a solid technique, and I appreciate he's not afraid to dig in the guitar to get some of those aggressive sounds out as well, not just trying to make everything beautiful, which is a good thing. And it's something that I'm missing with some players, but not in his. Similar to what Matthew has mentioned, I noticed a little bit of sort of an automatic compression going on with the sound, and I thought I was a bit sad about that because it's hard to judge. I couldn't hear exactly what was happening in those high volumes of guitar playing, but I thought the performance itself was really great. I loved it.
Well, this is really good feedback because, I mean, we're not saying to anybody that wants to participate in this competition, oh, you need to go and get a professional recording made, or, oh,
No.
You need to go and spend lots of money. In fact, these days, you don't have to spend so much money. Even the fact that, by virtue of this competition, that we're all able to connect from all over the world, Slovenia, the US, Canada, and hear all these players from across the globe and share this experience, it's testament to how connected we all are now and how much the ease of connectivity has been helped with a revolution in technology. It's fantastic. And it's a really important thing for young musicians to get their head around in this world that we operate and we live in, with so much social media and so many eyeballs and ears on what we do. So I love these comments about, just trying to take a little bit more care. Also, the resources of the place that you are. Dean's got a beautiful guitar on loan there from the Royal Irish Academy. Well, I'm sure they've got a portable Zoom recorder that he could be borrowing as well, or even, for example, something else. The camera was great. We saw everything picture perfect, but a little bit more attention to audio detail would be really helpful. It is difficult. Everybody has their own resources. Everybody is in different places and has different access to different things, but it's definitely worth considering. And we all know ourselves, it can even just be placement sometimes. Sometimes we're just a little bit too close. We need to move it away. Sometimes we need to judge the space that we're in and see if there's any strange reflections coming as well. So not everyone's an audio engineer. We've got two on the stream today, which is fantastic, and Matthew and Uros. But it's really important just to try and consider these things. But it certainly didn't really detract from his performance and that imagination that we heard in his own composition. And that's another feature of the competition here. There's no stipulations made about criteria on repertoire. and it's welcomed to play your own music, because this is a great platform to get it out and to hear it. And actually, I think we'll be hearing more of Dean's compositions, because it was really strong, and it just segued beautifully into the Brouwer, which was really, really nice. Okay, so we come to our fourth player of this heat, and actually, this player didn't respond to your lovely questionnaire, Kate, so I'll be having words. This is a student from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. It goes by the name Qiaoxi Zheng, and a first-year student at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and he's playing Segoviana for guitar by Darius Mio, and then Junto a Generalife by Rodrigo. So a real fun program, and very contrasting for us to listen to as well. We don't have his opinion on cake or pie or anything like that. I know he's a big Man City fan, so he'll be delighted that Arsenal didn't win the Champions League last night. So that's one thing I can definitely say as a fun fact about Jason. Here he goes. Bravo. Bravo. Yeah, yeah. They're very, like, drew us right in there, Jason. Very intense performance. How did that reach you in Slovenia there, Uros? What did you think of Jason's offering there?
Oh, I really loved the performance. I thought it was confident, well presented, really strong technically, and I also thought, even though we're talking about 20th century composition, they were vastly different, and I loved how he expressed different language of both pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed very deeply involved in everything he was doing. You know, it was obviously we get different. Matthew, you can come in on this, but we get different types of personalities and characters through these heats, you know, and because we're seeing so many of these young players, it's really interesting. But I felt that we were viewing Jason's performance. We were sort of catching a little glimpse of him. He wasn't necessarily playing out towards us through the camera lens. He was just so involved in everything he was doing in the guitar. How did that speak to you?
I loved it. I thought it was terrific. I mean, like, first of all, he starts with a very fluid technique. And then there's a lot of confidence in his musical interpretations. And that doesn't necessarily need to be sort of presented in an outward fashion. We can hear it. We can sort of witness it for ourselves. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an excellent performance, and really well structured, meaning the way the pieces are structured came across in Jason's interpretation. Really excellent work.
And Tracy, we've been talking a lot of people talking about presentation here. Is that what stood out to you the most in that, or what stood out to you the most in this performance?
I mean, I suppose it depends what you mean by presentation. I mean, the whole thing was from, you know, the setting, the sound, and the execution of the playing itself was at a very high level. He's obviously very talented, has a refined and rich sound that doesn't sacrifice some of the intensity that I think Uros was mentioning on the last performer. He had that intensity, and we want to keep that intensity. It's just that we don't want some sort of excess parasitic sounds that get in the way of intensity sometimes, right? So like squeaks or scratches, this was completely nearly free of any kind of problem. So his technique is very, very high level. And I think each of the sections of the pieces themselves were beautifully contrasting, showing that he could handle a lot of these styles. I think if I was to try to come up with, you know, where to go next with the pieces, I would say each of those sections could have their own sort of peak. So as they sort of contrast each other, they have their own shape and peak, and we know where we are within the section that then moves to the next one. So a very talented, very skilled player. That's a lot of work that goes into a performance like that, and kudos to him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just jump in, Kate, before you introduce our next player? Because it's really interesting seeing the chat, and like there's a little debate going on in the chat about, you know, presentation, and Tracy touched on that a little bit as well. I was like, what does that mean? You know, and that was very subjective. I mean, that can mean so many different things to so many different people. And also, you know, we're having a discussion about, you know, technology a few players ago as well, and we were just thinking about all these different things, because it's all about communication at the end of the day. But of course, we are involved in such niche is maybe the wrong word, but we are all very deeply here into one particular art form that we all enjoy and have spent all of our lives living in. So as judges, of course, you have a keen sensibility for sound and a keen understanding of what's going on with the repertoire. And like Tracy just said, the amount of work that these young people are putting into these performances. So all of that comes across, no matter sometimes the level of presentation, whether that be sound or picture and things like that. And what's really interesting sometimes when you are so involved in an art form, think about the videos that people watch on YouTube. Some of the most watched videos are the sort of handheld camcorder, back of the hall, but it's the player and it's that personality or it's that moment that they had. This doesn't just have to be music. This can be stand-up comedy. It could be a clip from a live festival somewhere where someone's performing on stage and there's howling rain. There's like a thunderstorm going by or something like that. we are looking to be moved and we are looking to be communicated with, and that will come across through the personality of the individual and the character that we're hearing. So it's really an interesting sort of debate and an interesting sort of thing. I was sort of reading in the chat there, apparently it's some big competition somewhere, somebody took a point off somebody because of the presentation or something like that. But I was just thinking about that, and I was thinking about the jury that we have with us for all three heats. Well, they're assembled, obviously, at my invitation, and they're obviously absolute experts in everything that we're listening to and hearing today. And I know for sure that nobody would be doing anything silly like that. We are listening way beyond sometimes just that more two-dimensional sort of way of framing things that you might think. So I hope that just clarifies a little bit about the depth that we are taking this to here today on Galleria Guitar, and also that all performances really, really can exude the character and the personality if that's there in the performer and the repertoire they've chosen. So that was just my little moment of explaining some thoughts about being on a jury.
Well, that's fantastic. I have to say, I think that's one of the things that I really love about this competition and why I think people should watch it. Because even if that wasn't your performance, you, guitarist, just learned a lot for your own work from all of these experts coming together. So everything you're taking in can be helpful to every musician, every guitarist. So I hope you're all taking notes, because this is really, really, so thank you, jury, for all of this valuable stuff you're giving everyone who's watching. We really appreciate it. Are we ready to move on? Let's meet Ryan Martin. So Ryan is from Cumbernauld, 25 minutes outside Glasgow, aka the Nold. Did I say that right? I hope I did. He's chosen to play. Okay, this killed me. He said, I'm just going to quote this. I have chosen to play classical guitar's answer to Stairway to Heaven, Asturias by Isaac Albéniz. I think that's brilliant. A fabulous piece of music, iconic for a reason. He's also going to play the first and last movement of Philip Houghton's Ophelia, which he calls a haunted sonata. So big contrasts there. His guitar is a spruce top with an Australian black wood, back and side. Another Michael Ritchie guitar in the competition today. He absolutely loves his guitar, and he loves learning new repertoire on it. He is, for a fun fact, an absolute diehard fan of the band Muse. Can't wait for the new album and hopefully a tour announcement. And then finally, when we get to the important part of this conversation, which is cake or pie, it is cake, 100%, no comparison. Sticky toffee pudding cake, especially Thornton's. He would legit buy it every day, but looks forward to his birthday so he can have it. And if they ever stop making it, he just doesn't know what he's going to do. right. Oh, ending with that haunted sonata, those open strings at the end, so cool. But opening with the Stairway to Heaven of classical guitar, the iconic Asturias. Tracy Ann, what do you think he brought that was uniquely his to Asturias?
Well, I have to say that that's a great question. However, I might answer a different question if you don't mind. What I think he did so well really came out in the Houghton. I think that Houghton piece, like you say, is so haunted and it's so evocative, and the things he was doing to really maintain and create all those moods, I want him to bring more to Asturias, because I feel like Asturias has a lot of the same emotional content, that sort of dark intensity, and some of those melodic ideas. I feel like I would love to hear him play Asturias while imagining he was playing the Houghton. Because some of the way he was listening and creating the lines, he was listening all the way through each note and playing the next note in relationship to where it got to, and that was making this like sort of enrapturing feeling. Like his Houghton was really riveting to me, and some of that could be injected into Asturias to make it even more compelling, because he's obviously got the skill, he's obviously got the ability to listen, he's talented, he can play. It's just take it to that next level where he's so enraptured like he was with Houghton.
Okay. Oh, that's such a beautiful concept to go with and to think about, and for him to take with him. Also, it was interesting, the chat was noting the economy of movement, Matthew, and where the energy goes, right? Because I was kind of thinking about, like, some people put beautiful body English into it, and so much of that focus just seemed to go right into his guitar. Do you think that affected the playing, or how did that speak to you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think that what was really working were Ryan's ears. And I'd echo what Tracy Ann said, which is that he was listening very intently, I think, and particularly so in the Houghton. And the drama of that piece, I think, really was able to come out because of the intensity of his listening. Both the Houghton and Asturias share something in common in terms of the texture. There's a lot of use of open strings in both pieces. And I think that one thing that Ryan did quite artfully was he recognized that a lot of times when an arranger or a composer utilizes open strings on the guitar, they're creating extra space. They're usually doing something with harmony, or they're usually doing something with texture, which does not necessarily mean that they're trying to bring out an idea with the open string. In fact, usually what they're doing is the opposite. And I think that Ryan did an excellent job by identifying what the main ideas were, usually in the fretted notes, and kind of underselling the open strings. And so you get a real sense of hierarchy and importance, I think, in Ryan's interpretation. And in both pieces, I think he was quite successful.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, great points, Matthew. And it's interesting because, Stairway to Heaven of the classical guitar, it may be, but of course, if we dig not even that deep, it's not even a guitar piece, but it's so synonymous with guitar now because we all play it. And, Ryan's playing it in E there. So as Matthew says, you've got so many open strings flying about all over the place, creating all this resonance. Some people even play it in G. And I was thinking when Ryan was playing it, because he goes to the Houghton in G, and that was some slick tuning, I must say. Asturias in G, because you can actually put, I think you might put your sixth in G, or is it, you're not sure it's your fifth like the Houghton. I'll have to have a look, but I was wondering if there could have been even more of a, even slicker tuning change there as well. But I mean, you're always worried about that string moving about after you change it, but it held well. Uros, what did you think? It just sort of, the sound was very sort of like well balanced, I thought.
I thought it was really well played. The sound control from the player was really good. So I really appreciated the subtle things that he added, especially to the Haunted Sonata. And I know Ophelia, I know this piece, and I remember I have a score at home, so I actually brought it up and followed along. And I thought he did an excellent job of bringing the emotions in this composition, especially. I thought the general sound was maybe a little muffled in the high end, and a little boomy in the low end. So I was kind of missing the whole dynamic range of the guitar, because I'm sure it was there. I could hear it, just not as much as with a really nice and balanced placement of the mics.
So maybe thinking about placement a little bit more and then listening back.
Yeah, or the room itself. It could be just a boxy small room, or it could be the placement of the microphone. But I thought the sound quality of sound production was really good, but maybe the recording sound was not so perfect.
Well, when we're working in these small rooms, I mean, there can be all sorts of tricks that you can do. I mean, you both, yourself and Matthew, are well aware of this, but Ryan's kind of playing flat on with his computer monitor and things behind him and that flat wall behind him. But, you know, turning into a little bit of an angle and then coming out a bit from that and listening back to the sound in the room are all sorts of things. I think, you know, it's difficult. You're trying to be your own performer. You're trying to be audio engineer. Maybe you've arranged some of the music as well. If you were Jay, you're changing guitars. I mean, it's like, you know, the list goes on of the jobs that, you know, a modern day musician is having to sort of become aware of. But this competition and other competitions, I think so much of the submission for young guitarists is in this way. You know, it's by video for the first round, or maybe an audition or a bursary, even entry to universities now. A lot of them have pre-screening. So this is a world that our youth of today really need to become more and more accustomed to. And, you know, I think they are. I mean, we can actually see, again, as people have progressed through the years of the competition, a higher level of skill in this area as well, which is great. Now, it's time, just before we have our next performer, to give the jury just a quick moment of break and me to talk a little bit about the wonderful sponsors that we have this year for the competition, and also more about the competition itself. So I would just like to put on the screen for everybody a little thanks to our sponsors. We have Augustine Strings, who have sponsored the competition since its inception, and always provide lots of fantastic strings for all the prize winners when they get to St Andrews. We have Alba Guitar Beads, who provide a beautiful new carbon case, which is very special in regards to the fact that the first prize winner always gets a handmade luthier-built classical concert guitar. In year one, we had Mark Burnett making a beautiful guitar. In year two, Michael Ritchie built a guitar. And this year, we have James Lister. And James is going to build a very beautiful guitar, which is, I think, almost nearly completed at this stage. And on Monday, so tomorrow, I'll be visiting him in Sheffield to take a look at the progress on the prize-winning guitar, have a look at it, see what it's doing, interview James a little bit about his process building the instrument, and then I'll share that with you. So look out on Gallery Guitar, because for sure in the coming days and weeks, you'll get some snippets of that guitar, so you can actually see our prize-winning guitar coming together, and that will be awarded by James in July in St Andrews to our first place winner. We also have on that guitar tuners fitted by Chris Barnett, and they're some of the best guitar tuners out there. So this will be a real Rolls Royce of an instrument. This year sees the return of the Dario supporting the Classical Guitar Retreat. They supported it for very many years when it used to take place over on an island off the west coast of Scotland. And Dario are back this year, and they're actually going to come on site and do some string testing challenges and all sorts of cool things. And then they're going to support the prizes as well for the competition. Classical Guitar Retreat, it's an event that takes place on the east coast of Scotland. So we're over on the east coast now, and we use the University of St Andrews. St Andrews is a beautiful town in Scotland, really fantastic place to visit. We take over the Laidlaw Music Centre there for a whole week, and there are classes, concerts, a fantastic faculty of artists and teachers, and it's just a celebration and an immersion of classical guitar Then on the Sunday, the final day of the retreat, we have the final. So whoever is chosen by our jury to make the fantastic journey to St Andrews will be presented in a beautiful concert on the Sunday at the Classical Guitar Retreat. And that is just like a really high level concert by that point, because it's just fantastic. And the performers are invited to sort of extend their program a little bit. And then, of course, we have a fantastic live audience watching there in the hall at the Laidlaw. And then on top of that, we will have everybody at home watching, because it will be live streamed here on Galleria Guitar. So you're not going to miss out if you can't make it all the way to St Andrews. However, if you do, check it out. Classical Guitar Retreat, just put it into Google, you'll find it. There's still a few places left to attend this summer. So if you fancy something to do with your guitar this summer, you absolutely should, and you should come to the retreat, because it is the place to be in the summer. Apart from that, that's kind of all my housekeeping done for just now. I think our jury are just about all back and assembled to hear our next player. So before I introduce our next player onto the screen, I will just tell you a little bit about him. So our next player is Natan Zlodre, and he's from a little town called, I think it's Sinj, placed in the southern part of Croatia, called Dalmatia. I decided, this is Nathan, to present himself with two pieces adapted for classical guitar. One transcribed by Tilman Hopscotch, and the other piece arranged by the great Sergio Assad. So he's going to two of our fantastic arrangers and transcribers. The first is Johann Sebastian Bach's Lute Suite number 2, the Prelude. So that's the 997. Then Astor Piazzolla's Invierno Porteño. So the first, the Bach, is in the transcription by Tilman, and the second in the arrangement by Assad. These two pieces were very important to Nathan as part of his studies. Their contrasting styles give a really exciting atmosphere and complement each other to the audience, and he hopes, of course, to the jury. He fell in love with his guitar the moment he picked it up in an intimate workshop in Madrid. Even though he comes from a musical family, everybody preferred him to play football. And as far as pies go, for Nathan, it is always a cheese pie. Bravo, Nathan. What a
Beautiful.
fantastic performance. Yeah, just so drew me in so much. I was just really taken by it. Uros, what were you enjoying about Nathan's performance there?
I thought it was really immersive performance, and I really was into it. Like you said, I really appreciated how much thought he put into the Bach, into the voice leading, and everything was done correctly as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was very tasteful, not over the top, not too showy, but still really beautiful. So in Invierno, I thought it was really inspiring. It was really varied performance, and I was able to feel a ton of different emotions, from sweetness, sadness, to a little bit of that punch in the music. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Excellent. And Tracy, this was like absolutely nailing the brief, in terms of contrasting pieces, but then also like contrasting interpretations. Like, you felt like two different musicians to me, over that program.
Extremely skilled. And not only that, just the conception of both those pieces were so well thought out, detailed, and really bringing in, everything that we are, his physicality, obviously, his emotion, his intellect, point of view. It was all really strong. I felt that his Baroque piece, not only, a lot of people will have a good sense of the line, but he was also articulating each line independently, which is hard to do. But, other instruments are able to do this. And so he obviously has a conception beyond what guitarists do, And so he's taken the extra effort to really express that Baroque style beyond what guitarists are usually involved with. And the piazzolla, so colorful, great shaping, really making the guitar sing. I started writing down, maybe finding some points of tenderness rather than continuing to build after a certain moment. And then he does it. Okay, well, I guess that point's not good anymore.
Well, that's good, because just as you wanted it, he's so in control of it that he's like, don't worry, it's coming.
Like, I don't want Tracy to not like this.
Yeah.
That's funny to say, because it's obviously, it's sort of his gift to us, his way of thinking about this and executing it. It's not really, I'm trying to win this competition. It's like, this is musically what I feel needs to happen with these pieces. It's a lot of integrity and beauty in that performance.
Oh, that's a great concept. Great comment, Tracy Ann. I love that. And yeah, Matthew Cochran, this music they were both so different, but both so moving. That was a really interesting experience musically. What was your take on that?
Well, I think that it's a real trick to share your personality with music that has so many layers of personality. We have an original composition from, say, Piazzolla, which is for 5 instruments. And then it is, in my humble opinion, perfectly arranged by Sergio Assad. And he was able to actually to find a new voice in the introduction that I actually hadn't ever noticed. And I can't tell you how many times I've listened to this piece. And so there was a freshness, I think, in his interpretation that was really quite special. Same with Bach to Hauptstück, and to be able to not only bring out all of the great assets that already exist in the music, from the original compositions to their adaptation on the guitar, but also then to have a unique sense of something to say in pieces that are very familiar, I think is quite an artistic expression. Very, very impressive.
Wonderful. Yeah, that is the point of art, right? I mean, the whole point, right? Oh, fantastic. We have another returning competitor. This is fantastic. So many folks coming back, and we love to see this. So up next, I'd love for you all to meet and hear Daria Druzenko. She's originally from Ukraine and currently living just outside Glasgow. She'll be performing the overture from the Suite in G by Antonin Lossi and the first movement Allegretto from Lennox Berkeley's Sonatina. She chose them because they contrast beautifully in style and character, Lossi's music with elegance and refinement of the Baroque era, and Berkeley's Sonatina with clarity and wit and lyricism in a 20th century distinct voice. She's performing on her workshop guitar with a spruce soundboard with an Indian rosewood back and sides. She said it has a warm, balanced sound, has been a reliable companion throughout her studies and performances. A fun fact about herself: don't mess with Daria Druzenko because alongside music, she competes in Scottish backhold wrestling and absolutely is a big fan, not only of pie, but specifically banoffee pie. Wonderful. Wonderful playing from Daria. Another big set of contrasts there between that Lossi and the Berkeley. Uros, what was your take on this?
Yeah, indeed. The pieces were very different. I like her playing. I think she's a very intuitive musical player. She does beautiful things with tone production. I could hear a lot of substance in her general tone, and she does do enough, I think, with vibrato and enough with also the dynamic range. So that's great. And despite the traffic noises, I think the recording was pretty clear, and I could hear all the dynamic range from really soft passages to really loud bits. So I enjoyed that. I felt like in Lossi and also Berkeley, some of the scales still require some work, or perhaps just a touch more time to internalize those sections. But other than that, I really enjoyed the performances. I thought it was great.
Great. Thank you, Uros. Tracy Ann, what's your take?
I was fascinated in the Lossi with the tone quality that she had, because I felt like it was so lute-like. And I was trying to sort of decipher what are all the qualities that are making this obvious guitar sound so beautifully like a lute. And, you know, she was achieving this sort of gentle shimmer through, you know, playing a lot of tasto. I think the tuning helped, and I think she doesn't have too much in terms of nails, maybe, but she was creating this really beautiful color along with this, you know, serenity of pacing that her playing revealed. I also really liked the presentation. She played it a lot like she was playing in a recital, like she took a moment to center herself before she played the Barclay. And I was curious as to how the sound was going to change for the Barclay. Was it going to sound like a lute for Barclay or not? And I feel like a lot of timbral changes did happen. The one thing that I thought was sort of in the way of her tone production for the Barclay was she did play a little bit tasto at times when she wanted to play forte, and so there was some, you know, splatter of the chords when she pushed a little bit, because there's just not enough resistance in the string where she was choosing to play to make the sound that I think she was going for. Somebody in the comments said, love listening to Daria. And I also love listening to Daria. I think the thing that I love the most is just she has sort of a gentle presence of her point of view in the music. She's not sort of overwhelming, like this is my point of view, but is her point of view on the music. So she really is, I think, has her mind and heart in the right place, that we can just kind of hear the music and enjoy what she's doing with it without being overwhelmed by, you know, personality, or, you know, it's the right amount of personality just to make the music shine. Loved it.
I do have a question again. What is chord splatter? What is that?
Well, it's just a sort of, when she was playing some of the chords, the strings were rattling a little bit against the fretboard or the frets themselves. I don't know. One of you recording artists, people might have a better explanation of what I'm talking about. But there's like sort of a string rattle happening that I think if she was playing a little bit more Ponty, not Ponty itself, but a little bit more in that direction, she would get enough resistance from the strings that they wouldn't kind of hit the fretboard or the frets.
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah. No, but these are great points, though, because it's like, you know, for some people that are watching who are not guitarists, it's like, what are we talking about? Splatter, Ponty, all these kind of things. And I'm sure we'll come to them. Matthew, how did you enjoy Daria's performance? I mean, this is a repeat entrant into the competition, and it's we can just see development with so many of these people that are having a go each year. It's really interesting to see how they're flourishing and developing.
Yeah, that's a particularly enjoyable element of this competition, is to see the artistic development of the competitors as they're going along. We get to know them, and we get to know their musicality, and we get to know their approach, I think, which is really delightful. In Daria's case, what I really appreciated is that she seems to be approaching tempi in a slightly different and more mature way. You really hear that in the loci, in particular the prelude of the loci. I feel like there were some moments of real real clarity brought on by musical breathing, like these little breaks that tend to happen from one section to the next that really indicate to the listener, we're done with this moment and now we're moving into the next. And it's really nice to see an interpreter be able to not only understand what's happening musically, but also to be able to communicate that in a very clear way to the listener. It's really nice to see.
It's very interesting. I think we see this a lot with the guitar repertoire, a little bit like the piano repertoire as well, especially the sort of 19th century stuff. There are a lot of notes, and a lot of those notes are just kind of relentless, and they're there. Even in the Baroque as well, those allegro, those final movements of Bach, for example, those preludes, all in 16th notes, all non-stop. Where do you just take a beat? Where do you have a moment? Where do you find that breath? And I can hear Daria starting to establish her own ownership of those spaces to allow the next episode in the music to take hold. I mean, those repertoire choices actually suit her very well. I was kind of thinking as she was playing, there's something about the way she's choosing this repertoire and she's building it that seems to be making a lot of sense. So yeah, very, very, very nice to hear that. So folks, we come to our final performer in this heat, but we are just getting started today. There's plenty more guitar to come in the next heat later on, but more of that in good time. Our final player of this heat is, in fact, not just a previous competitor. He is a previous finalist, Alexander Krylov. He made the final in 2024 and was invited to St Andrews to perform. That was the year that Eugen Trekkel won the competition. Alexander is from Dublin in Ireland. He's currently studying at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and he is prepared for us the Preludio e Toccatina by Sergio Assad, which is the final movement of the Aquarelle Suite, and then the Fugue from Bach's Violin Sonata No. 1 in G minor, arranged by Manuel Barrueco, and he just really enjoys playing these pieces. His guitar is a Daniel Stark, and he bought it from a fellow student a few years ago, and he's not messing about. It is just simply cheesecake.
My name is Alexander Krylov, and I'll be playing the last movement from Aquarelle by Sergio Assad and the Fugue from Bach's G minor Violin Sonata.
Two wonderful performances from Alexander. I can tell you, chat, I could feel chat just holding their breath through some of this. And I thought it was really interesting. You know, you often hear the very pulse heavy piece first, followed by the very free piece. It was interesting, I think, doing them the other way around. Matthew Cochran, let's start with you, talking about this performance or these performances from Alexander.
Muscular is the term that comes to mind. Very like confident and fluid. I would say is another thing. Like very, very well done. Good choices, I think, also for Alexander. It's not. I think it's important that the repertoire choices match the performer. You know what I mean? And because we want to see personality and we want to see, of course, capacity and et cetera. But I think these were pieces that were very, very well chosen by the performer to highlight the things that Alexander does well.
Agreed. And that's a very smart choice to make too, is to identify as an artist, what do you do well? And then always try to bring that to the fore. I mean, I think especially in a competition, something like that. Uros, what's your take on that? Thank you, Matthew.
I feel like both of these compositions are incredibly difficult to play. Actually, they're very challenging, but I didn't have this feeling of toughness of that it's difficult for him to play. So he was very proficient, very strong technically. And the playing was always immersive. It was hard to get the attention of. I was always in the moment, and it felt as if I were on a concert, basically. Yeah, so I really felt good and enjoyed his musical choices a lot here. And yeah, I thought it was very strong and confident as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see players coming back, and you know, having had Alex in St Andrews and seen him live in the final in 2024, it's also amazing to see him taking on really this very, very complex and very difficult repertoire as well in both the Assad and the Bach. Tracy, how did it land with you? How was Alex's performance speaking to you?
Well, I agree with both of you, probably all of you, in that that's a very ambitious program. Those pieces are very difficult. And I feel like they were admirably executed. In the Preludio, I felt the voices were very well balanced. He was controlling, you know, the sort of bass part of it can kind of overwhelm the melody sometimes in some performances. And he was really good in kind of balancing it to bring that melody above the very busy bass line. I felt a little bit worried when he started the fugue because it was quite fast, as well as, you know, being a very difficult fugue. So I wondered how he was going to fare. But he really grew into that tempo. I feel as the piece went on, he was there. You know, he can obviously express himself within that tempo. I used to study with Barweko, and a couple of things did occur to me when I was a little worried, needlessly worried, shall we say. Some things that Barweko used to say, probably still does. He would talk about, you know, when you're playing fast, you have to perceive as slowly as possible, you know, so you're, even though the notes are going by fast, you're sort of within this slower rate of perception, which keeps you able to control everything. And he would talk about, you know, in fast pieces and other pieces, to play as late as possible without being late, you know. So that's kind of an interesting thought too. And I feel like Alexander was just really impressive in how he was able to execute both these pieces in short succession. Very good playing.
That is really very insightful. Sorry, Tracy, I feel like I've cut you up there. But
to end a fabulous afternoon or morning or whatever you're in right now of guitar, you know, it was just quite brilliant to hear him end off like a bunch of great performances.
Absolutely. And no, I think Alex will find your advice really helpful. It'd be great. Obviously, everyone's writing a little bit of written information for the players, and I think what you have just described about Barweko's advice about pacing really, and being able to almost see the future because you're so in control of, okay, it's a fast tempo, but I know what's coming next. And it's not just muscle memory, because a lot of players, when they get to those really fast tempos, it's muscle memory. And when that goes, everything goes and it stops. And the music has to come to an abrupt stop. Then they can find it again very quickly. But that trick that Barweco has, and lots of sports people have it as well, and lots of great public speakers have it, they're judging what's happening in front of them and the response to things, and then they can maneuver themselves before something goes awry. I thought that was really insightful to pick up on that for Alex, and I'm sure he'll benefit from that. Now, we have to have a break at this stage. This is the end of Heat 2. Heat 3 is just round the corner, folks. But we need to give our jury a bit of a break. We're going to say goodbye to Tracy, which is such a shame. Only for now. I'm sure you'll be back on any Gallery of Guitar competitions in the future, and we'll see you for sure very soon. Uros and Matthew are going to stay with us and join us again in Heat 3. We're going to be joined again by Emma Rush as well, and we'll get straight into some more fantastic guitar players. So we're on again in about 15-20 minutes. So stay tuned to Gallery of Guitar. I just have to say thank you to absolutely everybody watching at home, commenting and helping support all these young guitarists. I'd like to thank Uros, Matthew and Tracy so much for their advice and spending so much time listening to so intently our young players today. And of course, I'd like to say thank you very much to you, Kate, for being a wonderful co-host. We will all be back very soon. So if you're not tired of guitar, just come back, because there's plenty more for you to enjoy. So I'll say bye for now, and we'll see you all very soon.
All right.